This is one of the weirdest colors I've ever seen on a kit. It's not tan, it's not white, it's not even really cream, it's like a warm white. I've never seen a single other kit have this color. Hello and welcome back to another Gunpla review. Today we're taking a look at the high-grade Gundam EZ-8. Alright, and starting off as always with the articulation. It is on a barbell joint, so sort of the usual range there. Can get pretty much a full rotation though, which is nice. Shoulders are on the usual front-facing hinge, as well as a ball joint. Hinge out for 90 degrees. Full rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow for pretty much a full bend, and the hands, as always, are on a ball joint. Now the waist has the stacked polycap system, so wiggle, rotation, not crazy because this stuff sort of bangs against itself, but completely serviceable. Front skirt can be separated and will be ball jointed if you do. Side skirts are on the usual up and technically front to back, but honestly it's so tight in there you don't really get that. Back skirt is solid as usual. Hips are on the front to back rocking system. And universal joints besides that, so out to the side. Good enough high kick. And a pretty much full rotation, though it does, again, bump against itself a little bit. There's a full knee bend, and the knee armor can actually hinge up to cover that gap, which is nice. And the ankle is more limited than you'd probably expect. This always falls off. This is a polycap ball joint, so it's not super tight, and it doesn't like staying on. This whole section on the front here is on a very slight hinge, so you get a little bit more movement out of there, so yeah, forward's not bad. Backwards takes that off every time. There's just a ball joint in here in the foot, so nice side-to-side rock. And there's actually a toe bend, but not much of one. So overall the articulation's fine. It's completely above average for even its time, really. This was made at around the point where things were starting to get into the revives and getting better. So it still has a couple ugly seam lines and a few weird choices for the articulation, but overall it's fine. Now getting into accessories, let's start off as always with the sticker sheets, and by extension color correction. These are just a absolute ridiculous amount of just warnings and stuff. And a little gray bar. And I have to be honest, I'm not sure where that goes. It's here somewhere. But otherwise you get the 81 for the chest and the 08 for the shield. And a ridiculous amount of EFGF ground forces symbols. Over here, you get the beam rifle sticker, the eyes. Stop focusing on the... There we go. The eye sticker, which actually is completely fine and doesn't peel or anything because it's so inset and surrounded by parts. Get the front and rear head cameras, and the chin, because that needs to be painted. And I do say needs to be painted, because this is metallic red, and the chin isn't supposed to be metallic. And I mean, you have to paint this anyway. Well, we'll get into it in a second. So you might as well paint the chin. These long stickers, you get 6. We'll get into that in a minute. First, let's go over what else needs to be painted. The gray on that little lip in there, above the cylinder, that's actually painted gray, not... Why didn't they just include... Whatever. It's not a huge deal. Chest is removable, but this is top coated, that ain't coming off. The tolerances are completely... This is fused, basically. But yeah, you need to paint the chin, you need to paint this antenna, because it's the same plastic, it needs to be painted gray, and then the tip needs the red. Not really anything else on the torso, aside from the verniers on the backpack. However, the feet, all that gray is paint on the foot piece. Here, and around here, and the piston area, like all that's paint. Now, granted, you can't see that super well, because of all the armor, which is probably why they cheaped out on it, but it needs to be gray. It doesn't look right without that shadowing in there. And then we move on to accessories, which, okay, good news. This is color separated, and the handle is color separated. Bad news, you still need to paint the gray on the actual handle it holds on to, this rear piece, and the little gray in there. Annoying. And as for the shield, you need to paint the top rail, which is standard for these type of shields. And, actually the white's supposed to be the same pale white as the ground type, but this blue is supposed to match the ground type, and so I painted the blue to be the ground type blue. Fun fact, I painted this before I actually had a ground type in hand, so this is dead on accurate. I really lucked out with that. Unfortunately, this shield isn't built the same as the others, and they didn't actually engineer in the ability for it to hinge down, but looks fine. It does have the usual leg beam sabers, which are not gonna open. These are completely fused solid. Okay, I managed to pry it open enough that you can see the beam saber. Yeah, supposed to be gray in there, so painted it and then top coated it, and again, tolerances that ain't coming off. Not that it really matters, because it comes with these old beam effects that are really pale pink. I've never seen them this pale. But anyway, let's get into the actual accessories. We just talked about the beam sabers, and yeah, they're in there and they hold my hands fine. Get 2 holding hands. You get a left closed fist, and you get a right trigger finger hand. Trigger finger hand is on the standard OATMS machine gun, which has the usual fold-out stock and side handle. Unfortunately, the side skirt ammo on the EZ-8 isn't actually a separate piece, so you don't actually get extras of these, which is a little lame, but I can understand why. You do, as we went over earlier, get the beam rifle. Fits in the same trigger finger hand, doesn't store anywhere or anything, so... And speaking of that shield earlier, you do actually get 2 attachment points, so you can put it on the back of the arm if you want. This just pegs into the little tab there on the side. Fairly solidly, actually. Doesn't come off or anything. Okay, and finally, let's talk about the last accessory that these stickers are for. The Balut pack, I think they're referred to. The entry pack. Flight parachuters, you know what I mean. This is the strap. And you'll notice it's still on the runners, because I have no reason to use this. If you do want to use it, you have to paint the red on all 4 of those verniers on the inside. And it's literally like 5 parts. You just thread that plastic tape. What would you call that? Thread it through as you're building it, and then you make the little loops at the end by wrapping these stickers around it. And since these loop into the shoulders, it means if you ever want to take it off, you have to destroy the stickers, which is why they give you 6. You'll understand why I didn't bother cutting this out now. It is an option if you want to display it with it, but you only get to do it 3 times. And as for a quick size comparison, EZ-8, like all the other OATMS suits, are completely average size for Gundams. So, to wrap this review up, the EZ-8 is okay. I mean, I like the design, and the engineering is not bad, but there's a couple decisions that annoy me about it. Not color separating the feet is definitely a big one, but not color separating the beam rifle is, it's kind of ugly. I mean, yeah, paint, whatever, but it annoys me. But I mean, most of it has good color separation. The articulation's fine. There's a couple of ugly seam lines on it, but they're not that bad. If you like the EZ-8, it's the easy choice, but there are better kits to get if you just want a Gundam that's a bit weird. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Subscribe and hit the bell to be alerted for future reviews. Come chill in the Discord. Follow me on Twitter, if that's even still around, and consider supporting me on Patreon so I can keep bringing you videos like this. And, as always, until next time, happy building.